With 100 ghost stories of my own death by Matano Anji coming to an end, I wanted to create a compilation of some of my favorite ones. I hope you all enjoy. Story number 1.
Wait! Lisa, you can't be serious, can you? Please tell me you're not really going to jump!
But despite his constant calls for concern, Lisa still climbed to the top of the metal fence. She said to him,
"Didn't you hear? AI make up 40% of the population in this country."
Yeah, I know that. What about it?
"And you think that you're a human, Daiji?"
Of course I do.
I think that I'm a human too. But every AI in the world thinks, of course I'm a human. That's what they've been programmed to think. I don't know what to believe anymore.
He slowly approached Lisa, saying,
You're thinking too much.
But there's a way to determine if someone is an AI.
She paused for a moment, averting her gaze toward the metal fence, and then announcing,
"And that's for them to die."
Hair plagued his entire face as he heard what Lisa was saying.
Humans die, but AI won't. Their bodies will just be disfigured.
He grabbed her, asserting,
So what?
She paused for a moment, sweat dripping down her skin profusely, and then she hugged him, embracing him with her 2 arms. He stopped for a moment, not knowing what to say. She interrupted the silence with some words.
If I do turn out to be an AI, all these feelings and choices of mine will have been a lie. If all the happiness and pain that I'm feeling is just code, what's even the point in living?
Lisa, you're a human. We've always been together, even when we were kids.
She turned away for a moment, and then she said,
You must know, AI can age like normal too. I've tried everything I can think of. Nothing else works. This is the only thing I have left to attempt. Doubting the past, doubting the future, questioning others, and even myself. I'm tired of it all. If I can die knowing that I'm a human, that's the way I want to go.
Lisa!
Please, don't stop me.
all he could do is but watch as Lisa slowly climbed that metal fence toward the top. But when she finally got to the top, he said to her,
Then let me jump with you.
What? No way!
Don't try to stop me.
Tears streamed down her eyes.
We've always done everything together, right? Let's keep it that way to the end.
The 2 of them looked at each other solemnly as the wind began to pick up since they were at a tremendous height. He said silently,
Here we go.
both of them shivering with fear, and then they jumped. Both of their bodies splattered against the stone, mangled completely. They didn't move as a substance poured out from their body that looked like blood.
But then, all of a sudden,
his body began snapping about everywhere as it raised up from the ground and corrected itself, his head completely upside down as he looked over at Lisa. She too was doing the same, her body rattling about everywhere as she let out a laugh. Story number 2. Our story begins at a gravesite, where a young man stands in front of it, a liquid seeping on top of the gravestone as the man grunts. Some amount of time later, back at a house, a sliding wooden door opens. Huh? Someone's here. The individual makes his way to the front of the house to see the man from earlier who was at the gravesite. He addresses him angrily. Big bro? Sup? Damn, you've gotten big, haven't you? The older brother helps himself inside, taking a seat at the table and asserting, I'm starving, Mom. I'd kill for some food. What? Why? Why have you come back here? Huh? Is it strange for a son to come back home during Oban? It's strange for you. The older brother looks over, a smirk on his face. You left home years ago and didn't even show up to Dad's funeral, so why now? I've been busy with things. You liar! I know you hated Dad. The room was silent for a moment, and then the older brother spoke. You're wrong. Dad was the one who hated me. I can tell. You know, your breath reeks of alcohol. Just like Dad, then. Get out already! But that was when they heard a strange rattling behind them. It was the door once again. The two of them looked over. Mom, did you invite anyone else over? The mother shook her head back and forth, signaling that she did not. And so, our boy peered through, staring at the front entrance. And what he saw was that the door was wide open, and the shoes were tumbled. He looked over angrily, and then he said, You could have at least shut the door. No, I made sure to close it, and we heard the door open, so... The younger brother didn't know what to say, but that was when they heard another strange noise behind them, coming from the bathroom. They looked over. Who's there? He slowly opened the door, grabbing it by the handle and peering inside. When he looked inside, he saw that the bathroom was now a disaster. Some liquid oozing out of the toilet, and the toilet paper all smeared against the ground, and things tumbled over and broken. What happened here? That was when they heard a scream from the dining room. It was their mother. Inside, things were moving around, and even a plant bumped itself over and tumbled toward the floor. What was happening? The group of them stared at the shattered plant, and then the younger brother uttered, Dad, he's angry. It's all because you came back here. You really believe that? And then, their father's photo began to tilt as well. Then it fell toward the ground and shattered into pieces. Look, can't you see? Leave this instant. You had your chance to come back. I might not have been able to come back home, but I've been sure to visit his grave. What? Oh, right. What do you...
I see. At his grave today. What did you do to his grave? So that's it. I get it now. Damn it! What did you do to his grave? All I did was pour out some sake for him. I poured it over his grave. That way. Dad, you can drink all you want over there. Story number 3.
There is something wrong with me. Something. Can't quite put my finger on. It all began when I started feeling a throbbing deep inside my ear. I decided to pay a visit to the local hospital. While there, I waited some time until eventually greeted by the nurse and doctor.
Mr. Kimura! Mr. Kimura! Ah, there you are. These symptoms, you say. Something is wrong with your ear.
Yes, doctor. Since about 3 days ago, I've been having this throbbing feeling from deep inside my ear. I thought that maybe it was because I haven't cleared my ears out enough. But last night, the throbbing feeling spread to all throughout my head. I'm worried that I might have some kind of dangerous disorder, or a tumor or something.
Please do not worry, Mr. Kimura. Let's take a quick look.
And so, the doctor used a pair of tweezers, searching about his ear, until he saw something strange. It was some sort of slug. Using the tweezers, he pinched it between and pulled it out. After that, the doctor and the nurse were chattering in the distance.
I know. What do you think we should do?
And then, they approached me.
Kimura, it seems like there was some sort of bug lodged into your ear. I've removed it, so there should be no problems for you going forward.
Oh, so that was what it was. Thank you. The doctor gave me a few instructions.
Monitor how you feel for the next few days and come back into the office after 1 week.
Yes, you've got it, Doc. And so, I returned back to my apartment complex, letting myself back into my unit. But that was when I heard a rustling from deep inside my head. Huh? It's not getting any better. And then, my nose began to drip saliva, splashing onto the hardwood floor. It was just dripping, oozing from my nasal canals. There are weird lumps and blood. It's all mixed in with my mucus. And so, I decided to Google it, putting into my search query, nose, ear, lump, discharge. I discovered that there was a new species of snail, that on December 23rd, a large number of snail-like creatures were discovered inside the head of a corpse. It was found within a local ward. According to a graduate professor, the snails were acting as a community, using the human's head as a residence. They would then create a space to live by expelling the house brain from their nose and ears. It continued to read on in terror. It further explained that the snails destroyed the original brain. They would dispose of the brain by discharging it from the host's orifices. In response to this statement, claims are being made on the internet such as stop reading manga, or that these assertions are in bad taste. But after seeing a flood of criticism, a Dr. Aura has stopped publicizing their findings. decided to make a call to the local hospital. "Hello, this is the ear and nose cleaning department," she said. Excuse me. This is Kimura. I came in and received an examination earlier. I've begun to feel extremely sick. Would it be okay if I came in for another exam?" "Oh, Mr. Kimura. Yes, I remember you. Did you have a question for the doctor?" He said that I shouldn't have any problems going forward, but it seems it's getting worse. I did some research online, and I think I found cases that are just like mine. It's fairly new research, so it might not be accurate, but... In that moment, I looked back at my phone, and it said that the content had been deleted, wiped from the web. "I apologize, but there are many hoaxes on the internet that lead to anxiety these days, so we would advise you not to heed everything you see online. All patients have their own individual timetable for recovery. Please, do as we asked and wait for 1 week until you come and see the doctor again. Goodbye then, sir." No, this can't be. The article, it said it destroys the original brain. No way. Stop it. Huh? Stop what again? His neighbor had heard all the noise and looked out, worried about him. Hey, yeah, help me. Call an ambulance. They're in my head. The snails are living inside my head. But she looked at me like I was crazy and slowly shut the door. No, help me. After that event, the night passed and soon it was morning, and Mr. Kimura came out of his door. The neighbor noticed him and couldn't help but jump. "Good morning," he said, and she quickly shut the door. Now that my head is feeling fine after 1 week passing, should I be out of the woods?
How are you feeling overall?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, I feel in tip-top shape.
That's great to hear, Mr. Kimura. Welcome. Welcome to our humble community.
Story number 4. The child vending machine. Somewhere out there, supposedly lies a vending machine where, as the name suggests, you can purchase children. The children contained within have had their lives cut short once for one reason or another. The child vending machine's purpose is to give them another chance, to be raised by loving parents. I've always wanted children of my own, and if the tale turns out to be true, I'd like to help give a child a better life. That's why I've been searching it out so desperately. That was when she came across a vending machine in the woods, all alone, just standing there, with a strange icon displaying children on it. He approached it. "Is this it?" Her hand trembling, she moved it toward the machine, pressing a button, and then a can came out. "Mimiko?" She ever so carefully placed her index finger underneath the pop tab, pulling it upward until... And what she saw was an eyeball inside, and the voice of a little kid called out,
Mama?
In her shock, she dropped the can toward the ground as it clanked about, and she couldn't believe her eyes. Something began to ooze out of it, growing inside, until it began to adopt anthropomorphic traits. It looked at her with its beady eyes.
Mama! Mama!
It approached her quickly as she placed her hand atop of its head, announcing,
Yes, that's right. From now on, I'll be your mother. Everything is okay now.
But that was when she heard rustling in the distance. A silhouette emerged of a little girl who had elf-like ears and angelic wings. She was carrying something within her grasp. Whatever it was, it placed what was within its hands onto the ground, rattling the vending machine until it opened. The woman asked it,
Are you?
The creature interjected,
The one who manages this vending machine. I'm restocking the product. Wait just a moment.
and as the entity said it would do, it began restocking the vending machine.
This vending machine, it's honestly amazing.
Thank you.
It's so amazing that I have a request to make. Would you be able to install the vending machine in a location where people could easily reach it? That way, more people would be able to make use of it.
No, it stays. We've already made the mistake of choosing the wrong parents for those children once. I can't allow them to live such a sorrowful life again. Making it to this vending machine is a trial, so to speak. Through this careful screening, only parents with strong resolve can use it.
Oh, I see then. Sorry, I shouldn't have spoken out of turn.
No, that's okay. You're just the kind of human I'm looking for. Please, treat Mimiko with care.
Of course.
The creature placed several of those canettes onto the ground. And then, in a horrific turn of events, she stomped one. Blood dripping out everywhere on the ground.
Huh?
Whatever it was, it continued stomping on those cans. The woman tried to stop her.
Hey, what are you doing?
What? I'm just disposing of them. There are only so many children that can be stored. The ones I took out from the machine are expired. Or will you take them all home with you?
And so, the slaughter continued. Crushing can after can, as blood splattered everywhere.
Let's go.
But then, she heard a voice from behind her.
Mama, Mama.
Followed by another splatter of blood. Can after can began calling out those words.
Mama, Mama, Mama.
The voices of those children echoing through the woods.
Mama, 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 Mama.
All the poor woman could do was cover her ears in agony. She escaped from the woods as fast as she could. Story number 5. Ever since last week, it reeks like dust no matter how much I clean. These days, I have to use my vacuum cleaner hourly. I've lived here for almost 5 years now and nothing like this has popped up. Didn't I just replace the bag a few days ago? Why now? It's not like there's any construction going on in the building. And so, I continued to dust. Oh, right. Speaking of last week, a strange old man came to visit me. He said,
Nice to meet you. I moved into the room above yours. I live on my own, so I hope I'm not too much of a bother to you.
"Oh, it's all right. I also live on my own. If you need help with anything, please, ask me whenever. It's so nice to meet you."
Thank you. I was so worried that I wouldn't have anyone to notice me when I kicked the bucket.
That old man had such a weird, sour smell to him. Not like that would matter. But right when I was about to take a drink from my glass of water, that was when I saw it. Somehow, even though I had just poured the water, it was filled with dust. Dust around the rim of my glass and in the water itself. Some of which had even fell down to the bottom of the cup. Ugh, yuck! And so, I looked at my clock. Well, looks like it's time to already go to sleep. I'm probably getting worked up over nothing, but this stifling feeling just won't go. Huh? I couldn't believe my eyes. My toothbrush was absolutely littered with that stuff. Dust growing in between the bristles. Ugh! I screamed as my toothbrush dropped toward the floor, moving toward a corner with further dust. Gross! Why is my toothbrush like that? I can't take this! I can't take this anymore! But to make matters worse, there was also dust growing inside his mouth, between the crevices of his teeth, and around his tongue and gums. I can't take it! Even my PC is littered with dust. And so, I logged onto it and began to search the sources of dust. It would seem that the main culprit of dust was dead skin cells, or small pieces of lint that had been dropped from various materials. The whole idea of fragments of skin all around my house totally grossed me out. It would seem now that the dust had gotten into my hair, it was causing me to have to scratch my head. Whew. Did a deep clean. Looks like I've finally beat the dust. Doing nothing but cleaning all day really worked up a sweat. I need to take a bath. Later that night, our protagonist was fast asleep. But little did he know that the dust would start to build up again sprinkling on top of him, going into his mouth and waking him up. What the hell? Again? It was sparkling clean just a few hours ago. I skimmed my finger across the floor, and it was completely littered in that dust. But something was bizarre about it. It began to wriggle about, squirming left and right in all directions on my finger. I screamed, "Oh! I have to get out of here. Damn it! The door won't budge. Where is all this dust coming from? No." I looked directly above me to see a figure forming above in the roof. It was as if it was the shape of that old man who had visited me. Above me. There's no way. It couldn't be, right?
Nice to meet you. I moved into the room above yours. I live on my own, so I hope I'm not too much of a bother to you.
Oh, don't worry. I also live alone. If you need any help with anything, ask me. It's very nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you. I was so worried that I wouldn't have anyone to notice me when I kicked the bucket. Ha 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 ha.
Who was that old man? Could he have been related to all of that dust? Dead skin cells. No, it can't be. Somebody help me! Story number 6. I'm a reporter from Escape Sakurai. Thank you for allowing me to interview you today. My name is Tachibana. I'll act as your guide. Here at the Great Juvenile Rehabilitation Facility, we take in young men who repeatedly commit crimes. After all other methods of rehabilitation have proven ineffective. I've heard that the recidivism rate for the boys leaving this facility is 0%. But can that really be possible? Of course. Not a person who's moved on from this facility has committed a single crime. Those boys over there are getting close to graduation. The two of them looked over to see 2 men uncannily smiling uncontrollably. The 2 of them waved at him as sweat dripped down Sakurai's brow and he lifted his camera to take a picture. But that was when the guide appeared right before his camera, scaring him half to death. I thought I could take a few shots of them. Next, I'll take you inside the facility. The new arrivals are first dropped off here for their rehabilitation. Afterwards, they are introduced into their community living program. What do you mean by receive rehabilitation? Rehab is rehab. What else could it mean other than... She stopped for a moment. Golly, Sakurai, you already know what it means. But poor Sakurai couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. How would I? After the first week, the juvenile's rehabilitation is nearly complete, and we check to see if they've been fitting into the community lifestyle we laid out for them. The criteria we evaluate for that are... But when the guide looked back, Sakurai was gone. Sakurai? Staying with her can only end badly. I need to see what this place holds for myself. Sakurai proceeded to wander through the rehabilitation facility, taking note of its dreary walls and atmosphere. Feeling compelled, he decided to capture a moment with a photograph. As he continued his exploration, he encountered a prominently displayed off-limits sign, clearly indicating restricted access for authorized personnel only. Ignoring the warning, he pressed onward toward a specific rehabilitation room, marked with a sign declaring "Rehabilitation in progress." Approaching cautiously, he strained to hear faint noises emanating from within, drawing nearer to eavesdrop on the ongoing proceedings. "Sensei, electrode implementation has been completed in the left brain."
Hey, that's a little off.
"Oh, like that. I see.
Think you can manage more of a firm grip?
Sorry, Sensei."
But it's not like we lost much, right? Messing up while digging around in criminals' brains is no big deal. This lowlife killed a woman all for a moment of pleasure. Thinking he's allowed forgiveness just because he's young is comical.
If we killed him here, I'm sure no one would have a problem with it. Sakurai couldn't believe what he was hearing. The mystery he was unraveling.
You fool! No matter what lengths you take to educate them, they'll always just be poor children who couldn't help but make a mistake. That's why we must go this far, so they won't commit such heinous crimes again. They need to be remade, starting from their brains. That's the only way we can return this world to the place it was truly meant to be."
Sakurai had pieced it all together and realized it was time for him to leave before he was next. But that was when a familiar voice called from behind him. "Sakurai, illegal trespassing is a crime, don't you know?" Upon recognizing the person behind him, Sakurai's instincts kicked in, prompting him to hastily retreat. In his rush to escape, he accidentally collided with the guide. Just as the commotion unfolded, a voice crackled over the intercom, calling attention to the disturbance.
Intruder! Intruder!
I'll head to the control room. The exit needs to be locked down.
I'll go to the front gate.
All of the members of the facility began to look for Sakurai, but one of them ran out strangely, panting. He rose his mask, revealing it was Sakurai. "What did I just hear? Messing with the brain? Being remade? It doesn't make any sense. This place is creepy as hell. I need to leave." At that moment, as Sakurai hastily glanced around, he suddenly became aware of the other individuals within the facility. A gust of wind swept through, causing their caps to flutter off into the air and scatter. What he witnessed was truly horrific. The boy's head had been meticulously sutured all around, stitch by stitch, marking the aftermath of a complex operation aimed at his rehabilitation. The sight of the carefully sewn wounds underscored the intensity of the medical intervention the boy had undergone.
No, they really...
As the boy placed his cap on his head, Sakurai continued. "I'm out of here. To hell with the scoop. They were about to take me in. Don't tell anyone about this. Don't say a word. Don't say a word to anyone." But little did Sakurai know the horrible truth of what was happening to him. Story number 7. Ever since I was a little kid, I would see grotesque creatures.
Mama, look!
The two of them looked over, but his mother seemed to be a little confused. When I first realized that no one other than me could perceive them, it really scared me to the core. It felt like the scarier I thought of these things as, the more clearly they appeared to me. One day when we came back home, my grandmother awaited us. She said,
Welcome back. Did more scary guys show up today?
My mother told Grandma to stop telling like that in fears that it would scare me. However, my grandma taught me something that helped me on that day. She explained,
Shuichi, it's alright. Just pretend not to notice them. If you keep ignoring them, they'll go away before long. Come on, open your eyes.
Grandma?
You don't have to do anything special. Just pretend not to notice them.
and so, as I began to ignore them, they slowly began to disappear until...
See, they're gone now.
You can see them too, Grandma? Then there isn't something wrong with me.
Of course there isn't. You're perfectly fine as you are. I've been able to see them since I was little like you. You've probably already noticed, but they're not like us.
Are they ghosts?
No, they're different from ghosts. There's something more sinister about them. They were never human to begin with. If you get too careless around them, they'll take you away. And the more you look at them, the stronger they become. That's why we have to pretend like we don't know about them. They will do whatever it takes to get you to respond to them, but you have to ignore it.
Okay.
It'll be fine. If things get tough, you can always come and talk to me.
From then on, I pretended not to see anything. Just like my grandma said, as long as I ignored their presence, they would go away pretty quickly. One day, when I was out on a date with a girl. It's been a while since I've been to the theater.
We got pretty good seats, too.
The two of us made our way to our seat and sat down, but that was when I noticed. Ugh. Man, this sucks. The person in front of me is so tall, I can't even see the big screen. But my girlfriend, she couldn't see it. That was when I realized the horrible truth. There in front of me stood one of those grotesque creatures. Oh, never mind. It's nothing. But the creature got more and more crazy, until finally it began pulling on its head, tearing its neck right off as its insides splattered everywhere. Sorry, I'm going home.
Huh?
I ran as fast as I could. It's following me. Help me. Grandma! Grandma! There stood my grandma. She greeted me.
What's wrong? You're in such a panic. Let's get you some tea. I've got some dorayaki too.
And so, the two of them spent some time together, ignoring those creatures until they finally disappeared. I need to be stronger.
Just take it one day at a time.
His grandmother reached around him, pulling him closer and comforting the poor boy. A few years later, my grandma passed away.
Her cause of death was undetermined. Her sight and hearing were going bad by then, so she might have confused one of them for a real person and stopped ignoring it. I'm scared. I miss her so much. Grandma, where should I run to when I'm scared now? The poor boy collapsed to the floor, but that was when he heard footsteps behind him. Now of all times, I'll just leave the room. But as he went to leave the room, he peered behind him and saw a horrific sight. It was his grandmother's head attached to one of those dreadful bodies. Grandma? That was when he heard the horrible noise those creatures make. They're using Grandma's form to grab my attention. And then it ripped itself apart. The poor boy looked away, sweat dripping down his face as he went to leave the room. But as he heard the blood dripping from the creature, he thought to himself, "How dare you!" He began to clench his fists, his whole body trembling with anger, as he made his way back into the room. "Stop playing around with my grandma's body, you monster!" Its body began to split in half, and then it made that noise once more. But little did our protagonist know that he was now completely surrounded. Story number 8. Our story begins with two boys in the restroom when one of them speaks. How do you think the us living inside of the mirror feels about us? What? Look, we can move however we want according to our own will. But when we do that, the person inside of the mirror has no choice but to obey us. Don't you think that would make them really envious of us for being on this side instead of them? The other boy stopped there for a moment. The hell are you on about? There's no way. Later that night, back at that boy's home, he found himself brushing his teeth in front of the mirror, deep in thought. The us inside of the mirror. The words of his friend echoed in his head. Don't you think that would make them really envious of us? He spit out his toothpaste and then looked at his reflection in the mirror, looking at it startled, inspecting every detail of his face to make sure nothing was different. And then he yelled, "Hey, you!" As if, but little did he know, lingering in the mirror was something out of the ordinary. He left the bathroom and started to walk down the hall. That was when he noticed that there was a mirror next to him. He peered over, and he seemed to see a strange reflection. He had to take a second look, but then he noticed it was just his regular reflection. He took one closer look, and what he saw was his face, but in such a grotesque manner. All of his features were contorted,
and his face wrinkly as his teeth grimaced at him. He screamed at the top of his lungs, pushing the mirror away as it wobbled against the floor, shattering into a million pieces. But as he looked at the shattered pieces of glass, each one of them echoed that familiar yet uncanny face. He ran as fast as he could. What am I so panicked about? Just my imagination. It's gotta be. But then he saw his reflection once again, and whatever it was, it didn't look friendly. It stared at him with an angry face. Calm down. I'm just worked up is all. But his sigh of relief was soon interrupted by a phone call. He looked at it, and it was coming from his friend Misaki.
Ah, hey, how's it going? Were you sleeping in?
Don't call me at this time of night, he said as he squeezed the phone. But then, the reflection in the phone was his face, once again uncanny and distorted, as if it was screaming at him. He immediately dropped the phone from his hands as it shattered against the floor. The next day, his father found him sitting against a corner. His head was against his knees and facing toward the floor. His father asked him,
Ryuji, what's wrong? Why aren't you in your room? Are you feeling sick? Let's get you to your bed.
No, I don't want to move from this spot. There's no telling where he could be looking at me from.
What do you mean?
The person inside of the mirror has been staring me down this whole time. I know I sound like I'm crazy, but he hasn't stopped looking at me since he showed up. He's probably been there forever, biding his time, waiting to make his move.
The mirror, don't you think? The mirror looks like that because of the face you're making.
But then his son jolted backward. His father couldn't make heads or tails of it as sweat dripped down his brow. But little did he know that his son was seeing his reflection in the dark pupils of his father's eyes. Once again, the reflection was making a menacing face, as if it was screaming at the top of his lungs, telling him that he should be the one out there, not him. The boy ran away as fast as he could, running toward the stairs as his father called for him.
Come back! Come back!
But it was too late. The boy missed one of the stairs, twisting his ankle against it, and tumbling down all of the stairs until snapping his head against the bottom. Blood dripped everywhere as his father approached him.
No! Ryuji! Ryuji! Hey!
But it was too late. The poor boy had lost his life as the blood dripped down, forming a reflection of his face. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'd like to take this time to give a very special thanks to my Patreons and YouTube members. Sarah de Jesus, Moto Surf, Cleo, Minue, Kago, Andre Wolf, Voodoom, and Alex S. Thank you so much, everyone, and remember, you're important and you matter. Have a good night, everyone. Goodbye.